just as much as it's great being able to cook, it's equally satisfying knowing where your food comes from and even how it's processed. And today, we'll explore the beautiful world of growing your own aromatic herbs for your pleasure and for your palate. We're about to meet Ngozi, a cottage industry entrepreneur who grows wonderful herbs. I'm spending some time with her today at her home garden in the Lagos suburbs.
Ngozi, welcome to Food Journey.
Thank you.
You've had a bit of a reinvention of sorts because I know that your core business is styling people. You're a hairstylist.
Yes.
And you've done so for a very long time.
Yes, I have. I've done hairstyling. I've run a salon for about 20 years, really. And so that has been a passion for a while. And then we had to stay at home during the lockdown. And I began to think of what else to do at that point that would also give me joy as much as my hairstyling gives me joy. And I ran into this post on Facebook where they were talking about a competition actually for home garden owners, you know, food gardening actually, and it caught my interest and I read about it and I just thought, hey, I can do this. At that point in time, I didn't think I had the space, but with the encouragement I got from that post, I decided to give it a shot. And here we are. And all this started actually in July.
That's very interesting. Now I have a question about gardening.
Okay.
Everybody talks about having the green thumb, isn't it? Right? I don't know what happened to all the other fingers that you do need for gardening. But obviously you have creative hands being a stylist. And I just want to know, is there such a thing? Is that a myth? Or is there something about having just skillful hands for gardening as well?
Okay, so for me, really, I don't think there's anything like having the green thumb. I actually just think it depends on your interests. Whatever you want to do, if you put your heart to it, you'll be able to do it. That's my opinion, really. In gardening especially, if you know the rules, if you know you need good soil, you need good seeds, you need dedication to be able to get it right. If you put all those together, I'm sure you would end up being called a green thumb. So it depends on what you know, what you learn, and how you plan and apply them. And then we can all be called people with green thumbs, really.
Many people think that if you don't have grounds, a large compound with the right soil and everything, that there's no way you can grow anything. Oh, I can't grow, I don't have enough space. But here we are where I see you've got practically all concrete and you've managed to grow things as, as far and wide as pak choy, you're growing lettuce, you're growing ugu, you're growing beets, there you go. So talk about the space issue.
Okay, so I'm actually an advocate of plant with the least space you have. For me, in my house, I wouldn't say I have space, but I have been able to create space. I have all my plants in containers. And of course, you can use any kind of container. We have them in different levels, depending on how deep the roots would be. So you have some in smaller containers, you have some in bigger containers. You would always find space if you put your heart to it, just as I did. I didn't think I had the space. But over time, I just realized when I fill up a space, I see the next space. And that is how it's been for me.
Is doing home gardening an expensive hobby? And the reason why I say that is because one feels you've got to think about buying your regular food. Why do I have to now go and add added expense because I want to grow extra things? So my question really is, why is it worth it?
The first thing you think about in home gardening is the fact that it is organic. It means everything you put in is natural. And for me, that is the most important. You know exactly what goes into your mouth as food and vegetables. So that makes it inexpensive for me. If I'm buying ugu outside and you realize that it has a lot of chemicals, fertilizer, which is not good for our health, then you know how cheap it is to grow things by yourself, knowing exactly what you put in them. So imagine how much one would have to spend if they have to go to the doctors because they have ingested chemicals that they actually knew nothing about. When you get sick and have to keep running in and out of hospital, spending so much, then you'll be able to know that it is cheaper to grow the things you eat as much as possible.
I love that comparison. You know, when you speak to people about money, then the point gets driven home a little bit, and I think everybody can understand that analogy. Yeah. That's wonderful. Tell me, do you think that plants feel? And that's a question I'm asking because of a little story. I'll tell you, when my grandmother passed on, she was a great plant enthusiast. Her plants died too. Now, this wasn't because she just wasn't there anymore. Well, it was partially because somebody else was watering them. But still, her presence, even with the water, food, sunlight, same elements they were getting, they didn't make it, they died. So tell me, why do you think that was?
Okay, so your plants are like your babies. And there's always a connection. When you have a sick child, it's easier for the mother to realize, because of that bond. Other people are there to take care of the child, but you find out that they will not know that the child is ill. It's the same thing with the plants. When you nurture a plant, just as you would nurture a human being, over time you have some connection that helps both of you understand yourselves. With the plants, it is the same thing. You have a bond. And so, at every point in time, when you are the one that feeds your plants, they know because of that connection. When other people feed, sometimes they get careless. I know the amount of water to put on each plant at a time. Most times, every other person will not get that quantity. When I go out and I come in, when they begin to wilt, I am usually the only one who notices. They don't notice. So there's a language that flows between the plant owner and the plants. So it becomes very important that we develop that relationship, and it helps the plants to thrive also.
Okay, Ngozi, changing times now have us staying at home a little bit more than we normally would have, even in the holiday seasons. The whole idea of having a hobby, do you think that's something that we should all develop, especially if we have kids?
For me, gardening is a safe haven. When I feel low, I just walk out into my garden, and by the time I'm done tending, I just realized that time has gone, and whatever it was that was weighing me down, I've even forgotten about them. And the same thing for the family. It brings the family together. Everyone becomes involved. Everyone becomes interested. And I know that over time, the children begin to take interest in whatever it is you do, whatever you decide as a hobby. There's a common interest with the family. My husband is an engineer, so he's not usually home. But every time he comes home and I tell him about the plants, what is happening, what I have just planted, he sits and listens, and he's very interested. When he meets me in the garden at the backyard, he stays with me and he would ask me, what are you doing, what is this, and also it brings the family together. So it helps us to bond, and it helps us to shift from any other thing that could cause tension, and then there's somewhere else to put your love, and there's something else to nurture.
Ngozi, this has been a wonderful discussion. And with all the things that you've said, I'm really glad I came with what I came with. Are you dying to know?
Yes.
Okay.
I am. Yes.
I love giving myself a challenge on Food Journey.
Okay.
And my objective here is to show people that with the little that you have, the resources that you can find around your house, you can start a little herb garden on your own, in your compound, near your kitchen window even if you like. And you can also start without having to go through the seedling stage. No, sorry. You can start without having to plant seeds, and you can start with starter plants, which is what you develop. And then later on we can come and revisit and see how the herbs are growing if I haven't chopped them all.
The passion is palpable when you hear Ngozi speak about her hobby. The do-it-yourself home gardening concept is so soul-uplifting in its simple practicality. Wonderful to see all this variety in such a small given space. The green atmosphere here evokes instant calm. I can feel it right now. God is truly the ultimate artist. Well, back to practicality and this garden challenge.
Ngozi, here I am.
Hey Sonia, what do you have here?
I have brought a basket. This is a very old basket.
Okay.
Now this basket was an old Christmas hamper.
Oh.
And obviously it's seen better days.
Oh.
It has a base in it.
Okay.
There are a few nails, so be careful.
Okay.
And I figured that maybe this could be sort of a decorative kind of
Okay.
little...
To use.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We should be able to use every waste.
This deconstruct?
Yes, we call it zero waste.
Zero waste.
Zero waste.
So that's the base. It's gone a bit moldy.
Yeah.
And
okay.
this, I think, can be
taken out.
Taken out.
I'll take this out and then.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just leave that and see how we take this.
Take that off. Because that is the old raffia.
Yes, and it's
It's been woven
good.
in.
Yes, and it's really, really well done. So
It is. So one just needs a little bit of patience,
yeah,
right?
take it out.
You're almost there. Two separate bits.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm leaving all of this tuition up to you because I personally don't know what's happening next.
Okay, that's fine.
Great. So another question I want to ask you, gloves or no gloves in the garden, and why?
Okay.
Obviously your manicure.
Okay, so a lot of people would, because especially as women, you grow a bit of nails.
Right.
And so you can have germs go buried under the nails. And that's not healthy because that can also cause some kind of infection. So it's usually better to wear your gloves, so your hands, your nails are protected.
I see you've got some here though, some gardening gloves there.
So I have this.
And these actually, let's show everybody, because these are like your kitchen gloves.
Yes. Yes.
So you don't have to have like those big bulky ones.
No. Those ones for me.
You can't
they don't really
feel.
work, exactly. They don't really work well for me.
Yeah.
I use that. I also use the very light ones. You know, like the medical ones.
Good.
Also, those ones are more comfy for me.
Right.
And you know, you don't really need to also use this. So you can use those also. The most important thing is getting your hands, your nails protected.
Protected.
Yeah.
So what's
So
the
you
next thing?
Okay, so if we decide to use this
Right.
to plant, like we have said, zero waste.
Right. What do we do about the base? Because one would think that with this, if you put it on,
Oh, it will erode, of course.
it will
But the
erode
soil, if you put it straight like this
on the soil.
on the soil. Okay, if you put it on the soil, you know, we don't have soil here.
We don't. Yeah.
So we're working with a cemented ground. Do you get me?
Yeah, I do.
So basically, if we have this, the first thing we do is we put like a nylon
Okay.
in
At the base.
at the base.
What does that do? The nylon.
It helps to keep the soil in place.
Right.
Sonny, I've got one.
Great. That's just your basic rubbish bin.
This is dustbin nylon.
Dustbin
actually.
nylon.
So we might need to cut this.
Oh, I see.
To,
Is this something I should just tear? No.
you can cut
I
it.
should.
Most
Oh, you
times,
wanna?
Let's cut. It's better to cut so that we get the.
Patience.
Yeah, exactly.
Patience.
Like I said earlier, gardening teaches you a lot of patience.
So, let me do this.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
thank you.
Once we cut the rubbish bag up, Ngozi prepares a place for the basket where it will sit safely in the best of the light of the day. Little tiny holes are snipped into the bag at the base and at the sides for the water to drain. We don't want those roots to rot.
Okay, let's shift this. This is the soil.
So this is the soil that we're going to be using
Right.
for it. However,
Interesting.
we're still going to.
You're going to add some more stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what it is first.
The soil here is mixed with cow dung and is rough in consistency and dense. It will be mixed with something we've come across before, cocoa coir. Remember this from our visit to the hydroponic farm? And this will be added to the compost on the right.
So, time to mix that soil together.
Yes.
What tools do we need? You need me to get
Okay,
something?
I need you to get me the hand trowel that we'll use.
That's
the
this.
mixing.
It's a
Yes.
lovely one. And I
Thank
think I want to
you.
put on a glove.
Yes.
And I'll feel the soil with the other hand.
Exactly. So,
So-
you still have that joy.
Exactly.
Feeling the soil.
That's it. That tactile thing.
So we're actually going to be mixing the soil.
So some of this has to go in there.
Yeah.
Right.
The different mixtures are shoveled in one by one, layer by layer. With the right tool, just mix in like you're mixing a cake batter. We've chosen curry leaf, rosemary and thyme for my starter herbs to plant today. After a generous watering down of our soil, Ngozi shows me that squeezing action which safely brings out the seedling. Kind of like squeezing a mango, really. See the roots? And this is now placed in a carved out little hole.
Ngozi, you've done such an amazing job here showing me how to create my own little herb garden, showing everybody else how they can do it too. So after all that hard work, I think we deserve a treat. And so do you.
Really?
I'm going to take you into your kitchen and I'm going to show you some little clever things that you can do with the beautiful herbs that you have right at your disposal.
Awesome. I would really
Awesome.
love that.
I would too. All right,
Thank
let's
you.
clean up and go.
Okay.
right, Ngozi, here we are in your lovely kitchen. And I'm in my comfort zone. Out of the garden and into the kitchen with some beautiful herbs. And what I wanted to do for you, Ngozi, was to just use them in the, how do I put this? The most convenient and the freshest way I know how. Using another vehicle, of course, this lovely bit of triple mincemeat with some fat running through it. So we don't really need any glue to hold it together. It's going to be able to stay together on its own. Tell us what we have in front of us again, Ngozi.
Okay, so we have oregano, and then that's the Mediterranean oregano, because we have different types. And then we have parsley, and then we have holy basil. Holy basil,
lovely. And I brought some spring onions. Now, one of the things you mentioned to me was that there is a use for the ends we always snip off. Would you like to show us and tell us?
Okay, yeah. So I was just saying that because it's always good to use your kitchen scrub, which means you can use this to reproduce your spring onions. So because this has a root, we would cut from this point, and then I would be able to plant this part, and then after some days I would have another spring onion.
That's incredible. I'm going to remember that. So normally cooking, we remove these. So for today's purposes, I'm going to hack them off here. Yeah. And all these precious little bits, yes, I'm taking home. Great. Our hands are clean now, everybody. Yes. So I'm just breaking up that meat, and you can see how lovely and finely minced it is.
This has been a rewarding experience from start to finish, an awesome trial at something new.
Something new to do with your hands and something new to do with your mouth. From Food Journey, we say goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Food Journey has a new Instagram. It's FOODJERNY at Food Journey. So if you were following us before, please come and follow us here now.